Hey everybody, in the last video, we learned what VPA is. It watches your pod's real CPU and memory usage over time and works out the right size for it instead of you guessing. We learned it has three parts: a recommender that calculates, an updater that evicts pods that are the wrong size, and an admission controller that stamps the new correct numbers into the replacement pod. But here is the thing. Reading about a manager making good decisions is not the same as watching that manager actually walk the shop floor and do it. So today, no more theory. We are installing VPA in real cluster. We are going to deploy a pod with CPU request that is deliberately wrong. The exact mistake almost every engineer makes on day one. And then we are going to watch VPA notice that mistake, calculate the right number, and then if we let it, actually go fix it live in front of you. By the end of this video, you will have seen VPA do something HPA can never do: make one single pod genuinely bigger, all by its own. Welcome to video number 35, Kubernetes VPA Part 2. Let's build it. So, unlike HPA, VPA is not built into Kubernetes. It is a separate project maintained by Kubernetes Autoscaler team, and we have to install it ourselves. Let's do that now. Step number 1, let's install Git into our Kubernetes cluster, like this, and then clone this repo. I'm gonna drop this link into the description of this video. It will place an Autoscaler folder in your current directory. Look, let's go inside it. And then go to Vertical Pod Autoscaler folder, like this. And then into the hack folder. It's inside this hack folder is a setup script that installs all three parts we talked about the last time: the recommender, the updater, and the admission controller. Let's run it. This script does a few things behind the scenes. It creates the Vertical Pod Autoscaler custom resource type in your cluster, then sets up certificates the admission controller needs to work, and deploy all three components into the kube system namespace. It sometimes can take a minute or two to finish. Let's get the pods in our kube system namespace. Three pods should show up over here, something like VPA recommender, VPA updater, and VPA admission controller, all in running state. There they are, all three parts up and running. The recommender is already starting to watch pods in the background. Let's give it something to actually watch. So I'm going to reuse the same demo app from our HPA video, the one that burns real CPU on every request, so we get honest real numbers. But this time we are going to set its CPU request deliberately low, exactly the kind of guess a rushed engineer might make on day one. And this time I'm going to deploy the application and its service together using one YAML file. Kubernetes lets you define multiple resources in the same file simply by separating them with -- like this. Let me show you. Now let's apply this YAML. Look. It created both the deployment and the service. This deployment will have two replicas, and look at the CPU request, just 10 millicores. That is a low, hope for the best kind of guess. Once we put real load on this pod, it's going to need a lot more than that. That is exactly the situation we talked about in the last video. A pod that is undersized for what it actually needs. Now, let's create our VPA object. And just like I said in the last video, we are going to start in the safest possible mode off. This means VPA will only calculate a recommendation. It will not touch our pod yet. Just like HPA, even VPA is a name-scoped object. That is, it can only watch the pods in the same namespace it's deployed. Let's read this YAML field by field. Target ref. Same idea as HPA's scale target ref. This tells VPA which deployment to watch Ours is pointing to php-apache, which is the name of our deployment. And under update policy, update mode, this is set to off for now. VPA will only calculate, but it will not evict or change anything yet. And then container policies under resource policy. This sets safe boundaries on what VPA is allowed to recommend. Minimum allowed and maximum allowed work exactly like the floor and a ceiling for VPA's own suggestions. It will never recommend going below 50 millicores or above 300 millicores, no matter what it sees. This stops VPA from ever making a wild extreme recommendation. Let's apply this VPA now. Look, the VPA object is created, but right now it has almost nothing to go on. The pod has barely run yet. Let's give it some real traffic to learn from. Let's send this pod some real steady traffic so VPA has actually usage data to study. But before that, let me open two terminals to the same control plane node to monitor a few things. On terminal 1, we will run kubectl top pods command. We will watch the pod's rising CPU usage in real time. In terminal 2, we will generate the load. Like this. Look. Now, let's leave that running for a few minutes. VPA's recommender is not making snap decisions like HPA does every 15 seconds. It is building up a real picture of this pod's behavior over time. So let's be patient here. Watch the CPU usage going high on terminal 1. It's greater than 200 millicores right now. Remember, we have just given the pod 10 millicores, so the pod is actually working much harder than we guessed. And after a few minutes, let's stop the load. And let's check the VPA describe. Look at the recommendations section here. There it is. Look at the target line. Around 271 millicores of CPU. Remember, we set the actual request on this pod to just 10 millicores? VPA is here telling us based on the real CPU usage, this pod actually needs about 27 times more CPU than we gave it. And look at the three numbers together. Lower bound. This is the least this pod could safely run with. Upper bound is the most it might reasonably need if usage climbs a bit further. And target sits right in between VPA's best real recommendations. Right now, based on what it has actually watched this pod do. This is exactly the mismatch we talked about in the last video. A pod undersized because a human guessed wrong, and VPA just proved it, with real data without us touching a single thing. Now, the update mode was off. So if we look at the kubectl describe pods command, we see that the pod's resource request was unchanged. Take a look. Nothing happened. Nothing changed. So right now, VPA is only recommending us. Let's let it actually act. Let's switch the update mode from off to recreate and watch what happens to our running pod. To do that, all we need to change is the update mode in the VPA YAML file and reapply the VPA like this. Let's apply the VPA configuration. This time, instead of watching just one thing, let's monitor the cluster from multiple angles so we can clearly understand everything VPA is doing behind the scenes. On terminal 1, we are going to run kubectl get pods command. This terminal will let us watch the life cycle of our pods. If VPA decides to apply its recommendations, this is where we will see the pod being terminated and brought back. In terminal 2, we will generate continuous traffic so that the application stays under realistic workload. And the third terminal is where we will keep an eye on the VPA itself to look at its event section to see exactly what decisions it made. And finally, let's continuously monitor CPU and memory usage of the pod in terminal 4. This lets us verify that application is genuinely under load while VPA is making its decisions. Let's start the load. Notice the CPU usage climbing as the load generator keeps sending requests. This is exactly the data recommender has been collecting to calculate the right resource requests. Let's fast forward the video to get to the results. And there it is. VPA has now decided the recommendation is worth applying. Over here, we can see the pod being restarted so that the new resource request can be applied. Depending on timing and how quickly your cluster responds, you may or may not clearly catch the pod disappearing from the watch output. In my case, it happened so quickly that pod appeared to come back almost immediately. Let's look at the VPA events here under the event section. This is VPA explaining exactly what it just did. It clearly tells us that VPA updater evicted the pod with their names to apply the resource recommendations. Look. Whenever you are troubleshooting VPA in production, this should be one of your first places to check. It records exactly what action VPA took and why, just like HPA's event section. Now, let's verify the resource request on the running pod. Look at that. The CPU request is no longer the original value we configured. It has now been updated to match the recommendation calculated by the recommender. 271 millicores now. Nobody edited the deployment YAML. Nobody ran kubectl edit command. The entire process happened automatically. The recommender calculated the recommendation. The updater decided it should be applied. And admission controller injected the new resource request into the newly created pod during its admission. Let's verify it one more way. Inside the pod definition, you see the updated CPU and memory requests. And over here, look at the annotations. The annotation tells us that these resources were applied by PHP Apache-VPA, which is our VPA resource. So Kubernetes isn't hiding anything from us. The updated resource values are visible, and Kubernetes also records who made those changes here. And that's the complete VPA workflow in action. The recommender continuously watches the resource usage. The updater decides whether the recommendation should be applied. And finally, the admission controller injects those resource values into the pod as created. From our perspective, it almost feels like Kubernetes realized the application by itself. But now you know exactly what happened behind the scenes. And now, finally, notice that VPA did not modify the deployment itself. The deployment still contains the original resource requests. VPA only injected the updated values into the newly created pods through admission controller. And that's why the running pod has different resource requests than the deployment template. Now you understand VPA. You have seen it work and adjust pod CPU and memory. Let me summarize what we just learned from today's lab. VPA is not built into Kubernetes. It has to be installed separately, like we did. Installing it sets up three parts: recommender, updater, admission controller. Mode off only calculates, nothing changes on your pod. Mode recreate actively evicts and resizes the pod to match the target recommendation. Resizing means the old pod is evicted and the new one is created with new resource values. The admission controller sets resources on the pod, not on the deployment itself. kubectl describe VPA is your first stop for troubleshooting. Same idea as kubectl describe HPA. So now you have seen both sides. HPA scales the number of pods, VPA scales the size of a pod. Two completely different tools solving two completely different problems. But here's the honest question a lot of you are probably already thinking. What happens if I turn both of these on the same deployment at the same time? I told you in the last video that this can actually cause a real conflict. HPA trying to add more pods while VPA is trying to resize the exact same pods, both reacting to the same CPU number, pulling in different directions. And that's exactly what we are covering in the next video. How to actually run HPA and VPA together safely on the same deployment app without them fighting each other ever. We will show you the real setup Kubernetes recommends and what happens if you get it wrong. That is coming up in the next video, friends, so stay subscribed. And that brings us to the end of this one. If you finally understand what VPA is really doing behind the scenes, not just changing numbers, but actually helping Kubernetes make smarter resource decisions, then I hope this video gave you that one missing piece. If it did, consider leaving a like. It helps this channel reach more engineers who are trying to truly understand Kubernetes, not just memorize commands. Share this video with someone who's preparing for the CKA, someone managing Kubernetes in production, someone who's still manually guessing CPU and memory requests, and subscribe because we are not done yet. In the next video, we are going to bring HPA and VPA together and see what happens when the two autoscalers try to make decisions about the same applications and how to do it the right way. I genuinely enjoy reading your comments. Tell me what finally clicked for you and what Kubernetes concept you want me to break down next. Until then, keep building, keep learning. See you in the next one soon.